Just a week ago, the NASCAR community was discussing the rivalry between Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin. This conversation doesn't seem to have concluded, as Kyle Larson has now given his thoughts on the incident that occurred back in Nashville. During the race in Nashville, we saw Denny Hamlin rear-end Kyle Larson as the second stage was coming to a close. While Larson did not get the opportunity to react to that at the moment, he did get the opportunity to do so towards the end of the race. And we will give you the opportunity to stay up to date on the latest news surrounding NASCAR. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button for our channel. You won't regret it. Back in Nashville, we witnessed 5 overtimes during the race in Nashville. During the restart of the first overtime, Larson found himself behind Denny Hamlin, who was leading the race. There was no doubt that both the drivers had a good opportunity to win the race. But as the race restarted, Larson decided to retaliate and rear-ended Hamlin. He rebounded off the number 11 car and tagged Ross Chastain, who was sent spinning into the wall and out of the race. Larson was asked by Bob Pockrass of Fox Sports if he was deliberately aggressive on the restart during the first overtime, since Hamlin was on the front row. "I don't know. I'm not sure because I didn't have somebody in front of me to know how I would have raced," Larson said. "I would ultimately know that I would need clean air on the nose no matter who's in front of me. But yeah, I guess maybe less likely to be as dumb and aggressive as I was. But you don't really know until you're put in the situation." Although Larson does call his move dumb and aggressive, it does not change the fact that Denny Hamlin made the exact same move on Larson earlier during the race. Larson was only retaliating to that move. This time, unfortunately, the move ended with Chastain out of the race and both Larson and Hamlin having fuel troubles due to the 5 overtimes that it took to complete the race. However, Larson is now ready to put this rivalry behind him and start focusing on the rest of the season. On Saturday, Larson spoke to reporters about why he's ready to move on from his perceived rivalry with Hamlin and get back to having fun racing against him. "Just feeling like you can trust the moves that somebody is going to make on you. I feel like that's when you can have close racing. You can have trust in what they're going to do. I think that's fun to me. Yeah, I've always enjoyed racing him a lot. Before, I guess, the middle of last year. But no, I'm sure we can get back to that point, and we've had fun racing each other since Pocono," Larson told Dustin Long of NBC. "There's just been a few incidents where I feel like I've just been ran out of space a little more than somebody else would put me in a situation. But yeah, I guess that can be considered racing sometimes." Despite some disagreements with Hamlin, Larson enjoys racing against him. They both are experienced drivers in their prime. They both know their limits and respect them. Naturally, every rivalry will have its moments of heat. Where I'm at, I think, Nashville is really the first time that I've got to, I feel like in my mind, show that I'm over it," Kyle Larson said on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. "Or like over the way that I've been raced. Now going forward, I think I'm ready to move on. I've got zero issue at this point. I would like a little bit of respect on the racetrack and a little bit more room than maybe I've been given. Yeah, I think if we do that, we can go back to racing fair and challenging each other fairly for wins. I think that we are the 2 top teams in the sport right now, so we're going to be battling for a lot more wins together and all that throughout the races and all that. So I've enjoyed racing him in the past. It's just we've had a few run-ins. Like I said, I'm ready to just move on and go back to having fun racing each other. Nashville is what it is, and like I said, ready to move on. I think that's where, I'm at now," Larson explained. To move on from it, you gotta kind of forget about past history, and I'm willing to do that. I'm going racing on my part, so yeah, we'll see how it all goes from here on forward. Now it's all on Denny Hamlin going forward. Larson is willing to forget Nashville and focus on the championship ahead. There's no doubt that both these drivers are strong contenders to take home the cup this year. However, they are currently still battling over the regular season championship. After Chicago, Larson is leading the points table with 671 points. Denny Hamlin sits in 4th place with 629 points. All it takes is a few strong weekends from Hamlin and he's right back in the fight. But to do so, he must get past his rivalry with Larson and focus on more important things. Speaking about the incident in Nashville, here's what Denny Hamlin said. "It was an eye for an eye," he said to Bob Pockrass. "I ran him up the track last week and he ran me up this week and it's all good. I don't think anyone is deliberately running into each other. Although it does happen. I've certainly had my mistakes, and he's been on the bad end of those. But it comes from competition and wanting to beat him. He's one of the guys, it's hard to say not the best, of our sport. All of these incidents in the past few weeks have fueled the rivalry between these two drivers. However, Larson doesn't think of this as a rivalry. I wouldn't agree or disagree about having an ongoing rivalry. It comes and goes. I feel like we race well together at times, and there's times when I feel like he races me not the fairest. I'm sure he feels the same way. So yeah, it's not an ongoing rivalry. But Dale Earnhardt seems more than sure that we are witnessing a rivalry between two drivers in their prime. Hamlin and Larson there was a debate on Denny's show about it being a rivalry. This debate has been going on for 2 weeks. Last week, Denny said it was not a rivalry. This week, he slipped up and said it was. So I think it's a rivalry. I think it's been a rivalry since way back in Pocono when Larson and open up the fence, so there's been a rivalry. Before we continue any further, let's make one thing clear. No matter what Larson and Hamlin say, this is a rivalry to look out for in the playoffs. Both of these drivers are capable of winning it all this year. The only question is who will come out on top. Even in the points table, both Larson and Hamlin are battling with each other for the top spot. Unfortunately, we were not able to see these two drivers battle it out in Chicago. While Larson did play a part in the race by battling at the front, Hamlin's race was compromised after a poor qualifying performance. But eventually, both drivers faced a poor weekend in Chicago. As the rain came in to make the track unbelievably wet, Kyle Larson completely lost traction while braking behind Ty Gibbs. He was on the verge of taking Gibbs out along with him, but he swerved right to avoid the number 54 car. But he still took himself out of the race. There are only 6 more races to go in the regular season. It'll be interesting to see who comes out on top. But this is not the end of this year's story. Just as the regular season comes to an end, the pressure will rise for the Cup Series championship. With every given race, the drivers will have to perform, otherwise they will be at risk of getting knocked out of contention. As it stands, it looks as though Hendrick Motorsport and Joe Gibbs Racing have an advantage over the rest of the field. 6 out of the top 7 drivers on the points table are from these two teams. The only other driver in amongst this group is Tyler Reddick for 2311 Racing. But in the last few races, the Penske drivers have been making some progress, so we cannot completely rule them out of the championship battle as well. But there is no doubt that Larson and Hamlin have the edge over the rest of the drivers. Who do you think will come out on top of the Hamlin-Larson rivalry? Do you think either of them will win the Cup Series championship this year? Post your thoughts in the comment section below.